Before a gladiator ever faced a crowd, he had to survive the place that made him. This was the Ludus, not just a training ground, but a machine built to reshape human beings. Near the Colosseum stood the Ludus Magnus, Rome's greatest gladiator school. One building trained the fighters. The other displayed what Rome had turned them into. If you entered these gates as a prisoner, a slave, or a desperate volunteer, your old life ended at the threshold. Inside, Rome did not ask who you had been. It measured what you could become. The man who controlled that transformation was the lanista, trainer, owner, manager, and jailer. To him, a gladiator was flesh, discipline, risk, and investment. That is what made the school so terrifying. It did not waste you. It used you carefully. You could be fed, healed, and guarded, not because Rome was merciful, but because spectacle needed bodies that could last. Every morning began before comfort could return. No sleeping late, no choosing your pace, no refusing the yard. Your first weapon was not a sword of steel. It was a heavy blade of wood. Before the arena gave you an enemy, the school gave you a post. Again, 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 until pain became rhythm. Mistakes were not private. They were corrected in front of everyone. Because one wrong step in training could become one fatal opening before the crowd. But you were not trained to fight as yourself. Rome gave you a role. Some men carried heavy shields. Others learned the net, the trident, or the curved blade. Your body was reshaped around the weapon chosen for you. If you were fast, they sharpened speed. If you were strong, they buried you under weight. The school studied your weakness before your enemy ever saw it. And every lesson carried the same command: survive the next mistake. At night, the body rested. The mind did not. Beyond the wall, Rome slept. Inside the Ludus, tomorrow was already waiting. The silence of the cells was part of the training. You heard breathing behind doors, footsteps above you, and the distant city that would soon demand a show. Some men dreamed of fame. Others only wondered which day would be their first real test. Because in Rome, even suffering could become a career if the crowd remembered your name. A successful gladiator could be feared, admired, and celebrated. But celebration was not freedom. The gate that opened for the arena always closed again behind him. Food was survival, but not comfort. Evidence suggests many gladiators ate dense plant-based meals, grains, beans, and food meant to build bodies that could endure impact. This was not a feast. It was fuel. Rome needed you strong enough to fight, but controlled enough to obey. And if your body failed, the system did not stop. Another man was waiting at the gate. The architecture itself taught the lesson. Cells around the yard, watchers above, a small arena at the center. Even practice could become a performance. The men inside were watched before they were ever cheered. You were surrounded by men, but the system made sure you felt alone. The school did not only train attack. It trained the body to stay calm while fear rose. You had to breathe when instinct told you to run. You had to keep the shield high when exhaustion begged you to lower it. And you had to move while every sound seemed louder than thought. A gladiator who panicked became a danger to himself. A gladiator who obeyed had a chance. Then came the pairings, the careful design behind what looked like chaos. A heavy shield could face a faster blade. A net could challenge armor. The fight was entertainment, but the match was engineered. Every matchup had rhythm, weakness, and a story the crowd could understand instantly. You were not only trained to survive, you were trained to be readable from the highest seats. Every movement had to look powerful, controlled, and dangerous, even when your body was failing. Because Rome did not want random violence. It wanted ritual, contrast, and spectacle. The crowd would see heroes and monsters. The school saw angles, timing, and control. And as the real games approached, the school changed its atmosphere. Voices lowered. Weapons were checked. Men who joked the day before now stared at the floor. The closer you came to the Colosseum, the more every lesson returned. Your stance, your breathing, your grip, the mistake your trainer would not let you keep. The walk between school and arena may have been short. In the mind, it could stretch forever. Behind you were the walls that trained you. Ahead was the crowd that would judge you. The sound reached you first, not as music but as pressure. Then came the sun, the sand, and thousands of eyes rising above you. To the spectators, this was entertainment. To you, it was the final exam of everything the Ludus had carved into your body. The crowd saw the fighter. It did not see the prison that made him steady. That was the contradiction at the heart of gladiator life. You could be treated as property, admired as a performer, and feared as a weapon, all in the same day. And the better you became, the more valuable your danger became. But value did not make you free. It only made Rome more careful with how it used you. A famous gladiator could return from the arena and still sleep behind a locked door. Every victory proved one thing. Rome could send you back into the sand. Survival was not a single event. It was a cycle. Wake, train, eat, heal, obey, wait. The school turned time into a weapon sharper than iron. Eventually, your body learned the rhythm even when your mind resisted it. That was the genius of a Ludus. It made survival feel like surrender. But some men learned more than endurance. They learned how to read danger before it moved. A shoulder turned too early, a foot placed too wide, a breath taken too soon. In the Ludus, observation became another weapon. The men who lasted were not always the strongest. They were the ones who adapted. They learned when to strike, when to step back, and when stillness was safer than courage. Because the arena rewarded spectacle, survival rewarded restraint. Still, no school could erase chance. A slip in the sand, a broken strap, a decision from someone seated far above you. In this world, your life could depend on skill, politics, money, or mood. And that uncertainty followed every fighter back through the gate. The Ludus was both refuge and trap. It protected you from the streets, then prepared you for the arena. It gave you food, then demanded your body. It taught you to live, but only inside the rules of captivity. So the real question was never only whether you could fight. Could you surrender your freedom without surrendering your will? Could you obey the men who owned your future while learning how to outlast their plans? Could you become dangerous enough to survive without forgetting the man you were before the gate closed? For many, the answer was written into the sand before the first real contest. The school decided who adapted, who broke, and who vanished into routine. And above it all stood Rome, brilliant, organized, and hungry for spectacle. The Ludus was one small gear inside a vast machine of power, a machine that turned architecture into control, discipline into performance, and fear into memory. So could you survive the hunger, the drills, the locked doors, and the eyes watching from above? Or would the school break you before the arena ever had the chance?